company management is 12-foot diseased rats is dehumanizing.
Boo-hoo. You know what else is dehumanizing and destructive? Management.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Here we have Howard Schultz making the case that billionaire is a slur. Let's hear that. See how compelling it is.
This monarch of billionaire. Let's just get at that, okay? I grew up in federally subsidized housing. Let me finish. I grew up in federally subsidized housing. My parents never owned a home. I came from nothing. I thought my entire life was based on the achievement of the American dream. Yes, I have billions of dollars. I earned it. No one gave it to me. And I've shared it constantly with the people of Starbucks. And so anyone who keeps labeling this billionaire thing, it's
Mr. Schultz, I don't mean to cut you off. We have time limits here, and you have the opportunity. I'm not cutting you off.
It's your moniker constantly. It's unfair.
No, it is not. You have had more time. I've been generous with the time.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
But, Mr. Chairman.
We have a room full of people.
Yeah.
We have a panel to go after you.
Fine,
You're not the only
fine.
person testifying.
Okay.
Senator Cassidy.
Billionaire is a slur, according to Howard Schultz. Wow.
And he earned his. I mean, the thing is like, that
he
this
earned
moniker
it.
billionaire. Well, if you earned it, then you should be proud of it.
Right.
And he talks about nobody gave it to. I mean, the idea that he was able to say with a straight face, "I earned it. No one gave it to me." Immediately after talking about how he grew up in federally subsidized housing.
Right.
Like the idea that you don't see that. Like on one hand, I understand how people can think it's cool that somebody can grow up from federally subsidized housing to be a person of import, right? Be nicer. It would be even cooler if he wasn't such a piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
But that's a story there.
It's an accomplishment.
But
Yeah.
you didn't get there on your own by virtue of the fact that you lived in subsidized housing, but that the government subsidized. Society paid for you to have a roof over your head. I mean, society in more ways than for the average person, right? I mean, for just the average person, just anybody who's never had any quote unquote welfare or whatever. Even those people, they don't have a claim to earning quote unquote everything that they make because we're all products of our surroundings. And our surroundings are created by society.
Right.
Our schools are built by society. Our schools our teachers teach our students that we didn't, that we don't pay for them. Everybody pays for them. Everybody pays for the roads that we have. Everybody pays for Social Security, for Medicare. Everybody pays for all, everybody pays in, everybody takes out a little bit, right? But he had even more than that as somebody who came up with federally subsidized housing, which is great. And I support that. But the idea that you can come away and say, in the same breath as you mentioned that, nobody gave it to me. Nobody gave it to me. I earned it. I earned it. I mean, hubris, the aggrievement, it's really.
Yeah, I mean, makes you wonder who went out and harvested all those coffee beans.
Yeah. It does make you wonder that.
Who produced the coffee? Who actually made the drinks? Who served the drinks? Howard must have been really busy since he earned it all by himself.
Right.
He must be in a lot of places.
This woman from the Heritage Foundation also took part in the Aggrievement Fest.
Well, they're good for that, aren't they?
Yeah, let's listen to what she had to say.
Instead of adapting to provide new services that workers value, unions have turned to political force and inciting animosity. Depicting company management as 12-foot diseased rats is dehumanizing and destructive.
Boo fucking who. You know what else is dehumanizing and destructive? Management.
There you go. There you go.
You can ask most workers in this world.
Yeah, maybe don't be dehumanizing and destructive, and we won't call you dehumanizing and destructive. There's an idea.
If the label fits, right?
If the shoe fits, then,
if you don't want to have Scabby the Rat in front of your place of business, don't do the kind of shit that attracts Scabby the Rat to your business.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Consequences.
Right.
Sorry, you don't like consequences? I thought we were all supposed to be responsible for our own choices.
There you go. Another thing that they were complaining about is the fact that somebody salted their business, and he was talking about Jazz Brizak, who is who did salt Starbucks, and that's a good and cool thing. She previously worked for SEIU. She went to organizing schools there. And she's a Rhodes Scholar, and instead of becoming a McKinseyite ghoul working for, corporations like Starbucks and trying to figure out how they can squeeze the most profit from the most amount of people and cut jobs and all of this and funnel more wealth to the top, she decided with her learning that she was going to try to help working people, which is cool as shit. But that is not the opinion that Howard Schultz has of her.
Thank you, Mr.
Can I come back and just address something you said, if you don't mind? You talked about Buffalo. I just want to clarify. From what I understand, the activities in Buffalo began in August of 21. I was not the CEO at the time. I came back in April of 22. But I want to share with the committee what we have found out about the organizing in Buffalo. And I think this is important for everyone to know. The organizing in Buffalo began with an individual who we later found out was paid for and joined Starbucks as an employee in 2020. And even though we hired her on her own merit, we found out that she was paid for by the very union trying to organize Starbucks.
I'm going to have to cut you off. Senator.
That was a good story. We'll come back to that because it sounds like something to do.
I hope you do.
I'll defer to Senator Mark Wayne Muller.
Well, thank you. And considering the chairman doesn't want to hear any of that information because I believe he's pretty biased in his opinion already, Mr. Schultz, I'll give you an opportunity to finish that if you'll do it quickly.
Thank you very much. So, as you might imagine, we're very curious to understand what happened in Buffalo. And we later found out that this individual, which was hired in 2020, was paid for and under the employment of the union that was basically trying to organize Starbucks. We later found out there was more than one person. And so you might want to ask yourself, where's the fairness, right, the objectivity, and the integrity of what we're talking about here today?
No, and I mean...
Yeah, that's super sad, super sad. Let's hear, he talks about her again in the hearing, going even a little bit further. Let's play this clip.
Any comments upon this person getting paid by the union when she came to your store in an attempt to organize it?
Well, if that's not a nefarious act, I don't know what is.
Yeah, it does seem just a little bit inorganic.
Yeah.
Nefarious. Nefarious. And he's saying the reason it's nefarious is because she was paid by somebody that was not the Starbucks workers to come and organize them and to explain to them, you know, to organize with them, to help them fight for their rights, for better wages, better working conditions, to have a voice themselves. He thinks that's nefarious because she was paid to do that in part or at one time. And yet Starbucks is paying literally millions of dollars to Littler Mendelsohn attorneys.
Right. What's good for me is not good for thee.
Right. I mean, the idea that you can try to third party the union in this way while bringing in an actual literal third party and paying them significantly more than
right.
the
It's
union,
such a false equivalence of resources. Okay, if there was one or two people went into Starbucks, getting a job there with the explicit aim of unionizing, and if they had some resources and support from a union, well, good.
Right.
I'm glad to hear that, because it still doesn't get anywhere close to the level of disparity between resources. Because, as you said, you're talking about hiring some of the most nefarious, to use their word, nefarious law firms in the country, and blowing money left and right to try to keep these people out. So,
yeah, and the thing that I forgot to pull...
It's a historic practice. It's always been done. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing nefarious about it. And certainly the companies have no qualms about doing their own kind of thing.
Yeah, and I pulled the clip, but I forgot to put it in the OBS. But Bob Casey kind of grills him on his use of millions of dollars to union bust, and how that actually... us as taxpayers are subsidizing that, because it is legal to write off attorney's fees for union busting law firms for union avoidance as just a regular business cost, in the same way that you would wages or capital investment, buying a new coffee machine. You can write that off on your taxes. Well, you can also write off union busting. And so in a way, you and I are paying these Littler Mendelsohn attorneys. But Jazz Brizak is nefarious. Yeah, give me a fucking break. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.